The sweet aromas of the apple fritter, cinnamon roll, and blueberry muffin are hard to resist. So making it home without reaching in your McDonald's bag is no easy task. But nothing worth doing is easy. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. From Asmik Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan. It's unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
No shortage of shit to talk about this week. The question is, what do we lead with?
Well, man, there's so much that I'm honestly ready to talk about. Just about anything that happened. I'm over-informed, right? My brain is going to explode. But I don't really know what I want to talk about. Like, what is it that I thought was... What happened that was really important this week? I mean, so much of it, but...
Well, I mean, let's start at Sunday. You had the Facebook guy. Then you got, Fresno. Then you got, Bill O'Reilly... And then,
you mean Berkeley?
No, Berkeley was Berkeley was also Sunday. Sunday, Saturday. No, Fresno. Yeah, the guy killed people in Fresno. That was this week, wasn't it?
Jesus, if there's a guy going on a killing spree in Fresno, I missed that one somehow.
Black militant dude, Nation of Islam guy that shot up some white people because they were white.
Yeah.
There's shit in Paris. I mean, shit.
Well, as far I guess we can talk about the shootings in general. I don't know that I want to get into the nitty gritty of each one. And if I do have a blind spot from what went down this week, it's Berkeley.
The dumbest riot ever.
Pure clusterfuck.
I didn't even know what an Antifa was.
It was all over Donald Trump's. Well, speaking of Berkeley, too, you got that shit with Ann Coulter going on at the University of Berkeley.
Or I thought she didn't go on.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then I'm just saying that whole situation. The royal going on.
I gotcha.
I mean, shit.
Which, I don't know. I mean, like, Ann Coulter is just... maybe she's a little bit more extreme than your typical Republican, but she's not that far out wacky like somebody like Milo.
Yeah, she ain't Milo.
She's an idiot. Here's the fucked up thing. She was considered far out and radical right 10 years ago.
I think because she spoke her mind in a way that Milo does, but she's never said anything, not that I've heard, that was as radical as shit that Milo would say. But all I'm saying is that
I'm agreeing with you. It's just that's how fucking crazy it's gotten in 10 years' time.
Right.
She used to go on Bill Maher, and I thought they were going to lynch that bitch.
But if you're not even prepared to debate her, then who are you going to debate in this party? Because that's your opposition there. You're going to have to talk to these people at some point. I almost understand somebody like Milo, but what's her nuts is just insane. First of all, she's kind of an easy target because while in debate situations she can just kind of talk over people and do the Fox News style shit, if she's going to get up there and have a speech for, I don't know, a half hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours, I have no idea how long she would go on for. All I have to do is somebody transcribes that shit, everybody fact checks it, and then you throw it up on your Facebook or your website or whatever and be like, here's all the shit you got wrong. Because
your Tumblr page.
It's so easy. That's why she works better on television than in print. Not because of her blonde hair, but because in print, people can just go through it line by line and fact check and go, this bitch is crazy. I don't know where she's getting her information from.
Yeah, but does that even matter anymore? I mean, I remember Bill Maher talking about right before the election, one of the, I can't remember what debate it was, but they fact-checked everything that both candidates said, and Trump was somewhere in the 70s as far as lying flat out when he was up there talking. And Hillary was in it.
70% lie or 70% truth?
Lies.
Okay.
and Hillary was damn near close to 40% herself. And I was like, this is... So we have someone that damn near lies all the time and someone that lies half the time. Mm-hmm. And we just didn't give a shit. We talked about him looking like he was humping his chair and everything else. We just didn't give a shit about I mean, maybe some people did. I know we brought it up at the time, but the majority of people just don't seem to give a fuck. They're like, yeah, we get lied to by politicians. That's what they do. So the truthfulness of a politician doesn't even seem to matter anymore. I mean, unless he's on the opposite side of you.
Hey, welcome to show 181, everybody. We're starting midstream again. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rich.
Yeah. But Rich, I mean, I feel like I use this as a crutch in every podcast, but all bets are off since November 8th. Apparently, so, and we joke about post-truth America, but I just don't like the fact that
don't mark the
pattern.
Date.
What?
The date is in your mind because that's when we realized that isn't when
it all crystallized.
That's not when it started. It started way before then, and we just now caught up to it.
I just don't like the precedent that's being set at places like Berkeley, where if you shout enough about you don't like who's going to come and speak, they shut it down. That's not how isn't that like the complete opposite of what's supposed to go on at college? Isn't college supposed to be where everybody openly shares their ideas?
Okay.
I feel like this is a point we've made before.
At a certain point, though, I mean, the college has a responsibility to just go, if people are going to act crazy, we got to shut this down, regardless of who we think's right or wrong.
But at the same time, they need to do something to get those people out of there. That way, they can't keep pulling that shit over and over. If you want to act like such a fucking raving lunatic that you force a college to cancel speakers who they've paid and took time to book, then you don't need to be going to that college. You need to be fucking expelled. Sorry. And I don't understand why colleges let 10% of people that maybe if that's what out of everyone that's enrolled there is out there protesting, 10% of people cause so much shit that they just start canceling. Like I said, speeches, presentations, they've planned and paid for months in advance. Well, I mean, fuck that, man. I'm sorry. That's what you do in grade school when you don't get your ways. You throw a temper tantrum and you destroy shit. These people are adults and they're in college and they're acting like children. So treat them like children. Bounce their ass out. You know what? They can go flip a pizza and drop some fries.
Just because someone from the other team is coming to give a speech, it doesn't mean they don't have the right to give that speech. Like that, I just don't like the precedents. I mean, we're already the squeaky wheel society. To me, this is taking it to another level. Oh, what? You don't like the person we booked? Fine, we'll shut it down. No!
And there's a difference between if they're out there protesting, chanting, singing songs, whatever the fuck. I don't care about that. But when you start committing acts of violence to get your way, and the people I don't even know how colleges can go, okay, well, we're just going to give in to them. Really? That's the inmates running the asylum at that point, man. I mean,
what is their alternative when violence starts? What is their alternative? The college's alternative.
Do exactly what the police do when they have these videos and shit that people are posting after fucking riots and stuff break out. Go through them, identify who you can.
That's post. I'm talking about in the moment. When you say that the colleges give in to them by, canceling the speech by Milo or Ann Coulter, whoever it is.
We could do this novel thing called arresting people who are breaking the law. If someone's throwing a rock through a fucking window, put some handcuffs on. That's how we react to violence in general. I'm talking about the college. You said the college gives into them.
Yes, the first time that shit starts.
Let me clear.
Go ahead.
The college gives into the students, right? By canceling the event. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it gives into a small but vocal minority of the student body because it doesn't want any bad fucking press.
So what is the college's or universities, whatever the establishment is, what is their alternative course of action?
They could tell them if they don't like it, they don't have to attend. It's not a required event.
I'm talking, you're on faculty. You're running this event. There's violence breaking out outside. What is your call?
Call the
to get out there
police.
With the megaphone and yes, okay. And then what? The event
Aaron,
goes on, and the crowd continues to protest, and the violence continues.
Aaron, what happens is they lay out a zero tolerance policy. They wait for the next event. The shit will break out like it always does. They fucking shut the event down, and then they fucking follow through with the punishments and the threat of punishment that they've given students who are out there fucking destroying property.
I 100% agree with you on that.
That's the only. You're not going to just do something one time in the middle of an event and stop them all from there. But you can. They're going to happen. All right? It's just going to happen. And so what you do is you just punish them so severely that other people are like, do I really want to throw away the rest of my life over throwing rocks through a Starbucks window because I'm pissed?
Right. No, and this is why I want to clarify, because I agree with you on that. The college's proper response is to actually try and find out who's causing violence at these events and make sure that they don't get on campus anymore. But if you want to lambaste a university for actually canceling the event where violence has broken out, I don't see how you could do that, because I think any person in the head with that responsibility would make that call. I mean, canceling. Forget about it. It's a speech by somebody controversial. You're having a concert or something, or an art at an art gallery at an opening or something, and violence for some freaky reason breaks out. Be like, okay, close up shop. Whatever's going on here is making these people violent and throwing things. Next step is usually flipping the car over and setting it on fire. So let's just stop before it gets to that point. You don't really have any other options when you're in the moment.
My problem isn't so much when you do it the first time. When you do it the second time, now you set the precedent. When you do it the first time, you can just write it off as shit got out of hand, we shut it down, let's readdress this, make sure it doesn't happen again. You do it now, you do it a second time, now you've just let the angry mob know, hey, we just got to get out of line and we can shut down anything we want.
No, that's BS. No. You had me there for a second, but in any case, even if it happens all the time, if violence is breaking out, you have to shut down the event. Your response is to, like what Rich was saying, to actually find the perpetrators and make sure they're off campus, whether they are students or not. That is your appropriate response, and that will naturally quell the desire to actually start throwing rocks, punches, flipping shit over, whatever it is, all the shit that is unnecessary and just people letting their emotions get the better of them, and possibly just have them protest in peaceful ways.
I think I think that they have a right to protest just as much as the person who speaks has a right.
Who says nobody has a right to protest?
No, I'm just qualifying what I'm saying here, but I just think you get to a level of violence. It just, to me, it just seems like
we're not talking about. We're not debating protest.
But this is the second time at Berkeley they've done this. This is now a precedent. This now says to the student body at Berkeley, at UC Berkeley, hey, make enough fucking noise.
No, come on.
What?
Look, yes, that's true. Make enough noise, cause violence, you can shut down any event. And that is appropriate response to have the event shut down is the appropriate response when there's violence. That's just the fact. Like, you want to make people scared? Wave a gun, okay? That's the reaction that you're going to get in the moment. It's not setting a precedent to shut down the event. It is the logical reaction to it. The precedent that is set is not having any consequences afterwards. That's what encourages people to use violence in order to get their way in the situation. Not the lack of shutting down an event. You can't go, well, you got us last time when you got out of hand and started punching people and tipping shit over, but we're not going to let you get us this time. If you punch somebody, that's on you, and this event's going on regardless. That's not going to solve anything.
Yeah, then let your cops be cops. Because that's it. In that situation, those are...
What does that mean?
Those are really the only consequences. Arrest people. Fucking, I don't know, hit them in the side of the head with a nightstick. Because you try that shit, not on a college campus. That's what a real cop's going to do to you.
Well, one of the things that hasn't even been mentioned by us so far is that when you look at the Berkeley Tax Day protest, a lot of those people... I know.
To me, that is protesting jumping the shark, is that fucking protest.
Well, what are we going to call it? The dumpster rumble protest? I mean, that's the only other thing.
Yeah. Just the aerial shots of that. They're humorous.
Moldy Locks gets socked, looking for her 1,000 or 100 Nazi scalps. I mean, the thing is, a lot of those people that were involved in it were not students, period. You've got groups that are now starting to go from school to school with these protests. They show up, they're in all black, they got their face covered. They're sporting empty liquor bottles, throwing them at people, throwing M80s, lit M80s at people, throwing M80s in a lit M80 in a bottle and throwing it at people. I mean, and then you have the fucking crazies, the white nationalist, alt-right, whatever the fuck they're being called this week showing up. And those people are bringing bats and bars and shit to this thing. They're ready to go. These people are just... That's why I said, I kind of understand why the police chief in Berkeley, one of the people that was filming everything, walked up to like 3 or 4 different cop cars and said, why are you guys sitting back and letting them go at each other? And they all said, I don't know, ask the police chief. If I'm the police chief, fuck you. Go in there and kill yourselves. We'll sort you out later. There's no way, I agree with Chris, there's no way they can respond. It's not going to get them in trouble. If they go in there using force to break that up, both sides are going to scream that they were being beat on and their rights were being violated, so the police are the bad guys. If they let it fucking fizzle itself out, then they're the bad guys because they let people get hurt and stood by the side. There's really no win in this situation that I see. These anti-fascist protesters, these white nationalists, these are not people that are interested in reasoning and coming to compromise and stopping anything. They just want to protest and break shit. I mean, that's all there is to it. So,
and fight over a dumpster.
Literally.
Well, if you're gonna, the crazy thing about this is, while I can sometimes sympathize, where I understand the level of frustration that a lot of people are feeling on both sides of all these ridiculous arguments. But nothing has gotten to the level where somebody needs to be punched, even. It really hasn't. I don't care what type of racist ideas you have in your head. It still doesn't escalate to the level. If Martin Luther King was fighting for just basic civil rights for black people in this country, and even at that point didn't say, this is worth punching somebody, or, hey, I have a dream, and if you see a Nazi, you punch that motherfucker. I don't remember that in his speech.
That's a first draft.
So
someone read that and went, hey, Doc, you got changes.
Coretta Greta went, now come here, Martin. You know we can't have this.
Like, okay, so seeing somebody who you think is racist get punched kind of feels good, right? I mean, I can't deny that
to me,
the idea, the general idea of a Nazi getting punched or a racist getting punched is like, yeah, well, there you go. But I myself would never punch somebody over that. They'd really strike me for it. Actually, they'd probably have to strike me twice, and then when I realized it wasn't going to stop unless I defended myself, would I then start punching back? Because I'm that much of a pacifist.
The irony of that was lost on everybody, of an anti-fascist, anti-authoritarian person punching somebody because they don't like what they're saying. Am I the only person in the fucking country who's just thought that was just irony illustrated at its fucking core?
It's perfect, because that's what a fascist is. When you don't do what they say, then they resort to violence.
That's what I'm saying. You are an anti-fascist punching someone because you don't like what they're saying. If you don't, like I said, if you don't see it, like, I'm not going to draw you a picture if you don't see the irony in that.
I don't think they consider themselves anti-fascist in the first place. I think they consider themselves some sort of hyphenated anarchism, something or another. That's what it seems like to me. It seems like a lot of the articles I read from these people and the information that they pass on and the tactics that they use, I don't think they're trying to make a point. I think they're just trying to cause shit for the sake of it. I mean, you show up at a protest and start chucking lit M80s into a crowd, taking a broken bottle, trying to carve people up, and you're on the side of supposedly peace and reasoning, logical thinking. Come on, man. These people are too far gone to even bother with. What they really should have done is let them keep going, and then slowly walked in and arrested people. And then just, okay, if you're on the ground, you're not moving, we'll send you to the hospital, but we're going to charge your ass with something later.
Yeah.
I just don't know what else to say, man. These people don't care.
All you can really say is, yeah, the cops should be there and they should do their jobs, okay? What can you say beyond that? Because none of us are cops, and none of us have ever been in a situation where we were, at least that I know of, actually been in a crazy mob like that, much less been awarded the authority to try and control and tame that crazy mob. What the fuck do you do in that moment? I don't know.
Well,
apparently, gears for?
Apparently, the police commissioner made his decision and said, "Hang back." I mean, didn't we go through this with Detroit with their new police chief a few years ago when they were talking about the crime rate and the response time for 911 and police to show up? And he said, "Well, then I advise every citizen who legally can to go out and get a handgun and protect yourself." Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a point where you realistically have to look at a situation and go, we can't do anything. Because I truly believe anything the cops did besides backing off and letting that situation burn itself out was going to be seen as an act of aggression. And those cops weren't even in riot gear, at least the ones I saw. The ones I saw that were hanging back around the edges of this shit were just in regular old patrol cars, regular patrol gear.
Right. These are the people that freaked out when Kylie Jenner gave that cop a Pepsi. What the fuck are they going to do if I go over there?
I have to say, one of the best videos I saw from all this is some guy, I think he probably was just, I don't think he was on the side like of either of the protesters, but he just saw an opportunity to goof on people. So he quickly ran and grabbed a can of Pepsi and started walking around videotaping himself trying to offer it to protesters.
Perfect.
Finally, the video ended when some dude snatched it from him and threw it at another person. He was like, oh, I guess Pepsi doesn't make the world go round or some shit like that. Just fucking with people. It was pretty amusing, I had to admit.
Wow.
All he wanted was a Pepsi. Just
exactly. And you wouldn't give it to me.
Yeah, and thank you, Pepsi, for making me know Kylie Jenner's name.
Yeah. Thanks for putting another one of them dipshits in the zeitgeist. That's what we needed, right? Another one.
Right. That is the one, right? That was in the Pepsi commercial?
Yeah, yes. I think she's the youngest one, so now they're going to have to start pimping their fucking next generation of Kardashians, because they've already pimped the entire generation that they have, so.
No, don't worry. We're not too far away from the East, West, North, South show.
I know, right? Hey, since you talk about videos, speaking of videos, did you guys watch that any of that stuff with that Steve Stevens guy? That whole shebang bang?
Of the 3 videos I've seen, I've watched the 2. I've watched the one where he's basically in a parking lot explaining why what's going to happen happens, and then after he kills the guy, there's a video of him recording himself driving his car, calling his boy very calmly, going, "Yeah, I did it. I snapped. No, I'm not joking, man. No." And then another call happens. He puts him on call waiting, and he seems like he's having a good old time with this, just cool, calm, and collected. So I didn't see the video where he shot him.
Clearly, the guy was insane. I mean, this urge must have built up inside of him, and it was a relief when he finally got to just go, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to kill a random person. This guy was sick.
Man, that's snapping on a level I haven't ever seen before. Usually, I've seen people that like snap and they just lash out at people around them. He was just very calmly like, yeah, this bitch broke my heart, and that's why all these people are going to have to die. I'm like, what the fuck? How do you even equate those two things?
Yeah, that one video where it's like, well, now I'm going to have to kill a whole bunch of people and try to get on death row. I was like, whoa. Like, this guy, like, this... I don't know, man. This guy's a sociopath. Like, he was just so calm about everything. Like...
Right. This wasn't a bad breakup that drove a man to the edge. This was a sick individual. As was the guy in Fresno.
Yeah, the more and more that comes out about that, I read something today that they're already laying the groundwork. His attorney brought up the fact that he may not be mentally competent to stand trial because I guess in his arraignment he was just shouting out a whole bunch of shit, like talking about reparations, like seriously, like just being on that militant shit during his arraignment.
Yeah.
But I mean that's a guy more where his behavior, that's a guy where I'm more apt to believe that guy snapped. Like this other guy, like, dude, that's just fucking, like, to me, I just think that's like a Hannibal Lecter type fucking shit.
Yeah, I can,
as far as sociopaths.
I can see that. But
it really is when you think about it, because he was just so calm about it. At no point did he panic at all. I've heard the audio of the video where he shot the guy, and he just walked up to the guy and very calmly talked to him. Didn't raise his voice or anything. And then he was like, say this chick's, whatever, Joy Lane, say her name. And he's like, John, I don't know any Joy Lane. He's like, well, I just wanted you to say the name of the person that's causing this to happen. And apparently he shot him. Jesus. Just walked away. I mean, dude, there was no, like I said, hearing that audio, there was no screaming, yelling on his part whatsoever. I mean, no hesitation either. He just went up, started talking to the guy, say this chick's name, boom, shot him. So, but I mean, isn't this another in a line of these fucked up, jacked up fucking 20-year-olds that somehow over relationships?
No, this guy was 37. This guy's my age.
He's 37?
Yes.
I was going to say, he didn't look young.
No, this guy is a peer of us, gentlemen. This guy's in our age group.
Okay, age group, yes.
Peer. He really has no... I know, right?
Come on.
Oh, whatever. You know what I mean.
Then this guy is just a loser of just amazing proportions. Or he was. I mean, really, dude, I've been all fucked up over a breakup and shit. Never was it like, I'm just going to start killing random people.
Well, obviously, because you're not mentally ill.
All the murder I planned was, that bitch and the dude I caught her with. It wasn't, it wasn't, hey, there's an old man, let me shoot him.
You were going to know your victims?
What is it Chris Titus said? Said if you've never contemplated suicide, you've never been in love, and if you've never contemplated murder, you've never been divorced. So... Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. But no, man, dude. Okay, the guy's 37 and he's sitting there bitching about he can't get girls to fucking pay attention to him. Everyone, They all take them for granted. Really, dude?
Yeah.
Chris, you and I talked about it. At a certain point, just go to a fucking hooker to get your fucking needs taken care of and get on with your fucking life, man.
Well, yeah, but you're not talking to a sane person, though. There was no cure except for maybe some medication and talking to somebody.
Ironically, he was a counselor.
Yeah, I was going to say. As you said that, Aaron, it popped in my head.
Maybe that was his problem.
He counseled at-risk youth.
All these at-risk youth were filling up his small brain pan with with all their problems.
Yeah.
You gotta get Jack Donaghy over to put him in his mind vice and crush him.
Crush it. To me, this is another incident, though, because, I mean, initially everyone thought it was on Facebook Live, and then it was just a video that he posted to Facebook.
Right.
This is going to be another situation where this is why we can't have nice things. Like, I don't know. I've been on the road. I'm in Oregon. It's 420 yesterday. You know, my brain may have gone down some rabbit holes. But this might be, like, behavior like this, and, like, what, in the last few months? There's been, 2 rapes, that kidnapping / ass whooping, and then...
there was another one that
wasn't there an actual murder that was on Facebook Live?
The guy posted video of him molesting his 2-year-old daughter. I think it might have been a stepdaughter, but what?
But this is going to create, like everyone always. I mean, first of all, it's pretty prevalent now. But you know, the whole Big Brother, all that. I mean, you got a cell phone. I mean, there are probably 3 devices in my fucking field of vision right now that can tell people where I am. But this is really going to turn into one of those things that creates a Big Brother type. This is going to lead to everything you post online being curated, like this kind of shit. I mean, the last few months, like we have shown I think Rich said we have shown everyone should not have a TV station. Like Facebook Live, just like. I'm starting to think it's a failed experiment, and like I said, even though this wasn't live, this is going to start leading to everything you do online being curated.
Okay, yeah, I mean, obviously there's stuff that we don't want to see on Facebook, and these examples are among them. I can't speak for everyone. There are sick individuals who do want to see that, obviously. But in general, your average Facebook user doesn't want that to come up. And so they cry to Facebook, you've got to remove this. Why aren't you filtering this content? You're letting murders be broadcast on here. This is outrageous. And certainly Facebook does have some policing over its content. We know that firsthand from our attempts to promote the Weedsman podcast.
That's fucked up. Yeah, we can't. They won't take our money to promote the Weedsman podcast,
right?
Where we all got medical cards. It's legal in like 4 states.
See,
we can't. You won't. You're too good to take our fucking money to boost our post about our podcast about weed. But yeah, sexual assaults, fucking people getting kidnapped, murders. We're good with that.
That's just the thing. For everything that is
stuck in my craw this week.
For everything that is posted that people complain about or are offended by, there's just as many who are having their content fucked with and are either confused or know why and are still pissed because they think it's unfair. The podcast being amongst them. One of the more famous recent examples was, I think it was a museum that had posted the famous picture. I believe it was in Vietnam. I guess it could have been Korea. I don't even know how far it goes back. But the little nude girl running down the street, running from a napalm attack. I'm sure you've seen this black and white photo, and it's horrific. But it's a world famous photo, and that was posted, and Facebook took it down. Hey, you can't post nude girls running down the street. So we want more of what Facebook is already bad at doing. Like, we want Facebook to do more policing, and meanwhile, the policing that it does already, I mean, you could say that we want you to be better at it, but what does even being better at it mean? We want you to be better at being our parents, about knowing ahead of time what isn't going to offend us. So we essentially then want you to tailor our content, to actually curate it. Now, we understand that there's filters, and you have your advertisers that you need to take money from so that you can push their posts and whatnot. But what is... not only do I not understand what the appropriate response from Facebook should be, other than, well, that's the internet for you, I'm not sure what the people want. The people that are outraged by the fact that there are horrible things, rapes, murders, suicides, being posted on Facebook, being taken down, but once they're out there, they're out there. So they're outraged that this is happening in the first place. But what is your solution? Because
I mean, it probably goes back to Facebook in 2008. You can type things and share pictures. That's it. I mean, it.
Okay, but it doesn't stop there.
Because if you take away Facebook Live, you can still share video.
Look, you've got to broaden your horizon on this, because it's all information can be offensive, right? I can write a post that could be more offensive than, a video of somebody being murdered. So it's not just about a video or a photo. It's about content, period. Who polices the content, and how much do you want them to police the content? Either you consider this to be an open environment where everything goes. I mean, that used to be how we considered the internet in general, and we're getting used to more now having, corporations have strict control over it, and the way that you have to pay for the pipeline or the wave beams or the satellite or whatever it is that you get your internet from. You've got to pay them, and they've got to pay advertisers, so they take your information and do what they will with it. And we've gotten used to this, and we're also getting now more used to, like, whoa, the internet's scary. Facebook is just an extension of the internet. It has a potential to have just as much fucked up shit as anywhere on 4chan. It's just that you don't tend to have that general environment of the users. There are...
I just had a horrible thought. Is this where the FCC finally starts getting involved in the internet and the content?
Well, they are. What do you mean, finally? You mean actually policing it? No. That's not their job. And...
Well, no, I'm talking about like the standards and practices type of shit. Like if somebody says, fuck on the radio, an 82-year-old woman can fucking email them or call them, right, and file a complaint against the station. I'm saying
that's a possibility.
Is that where that starts? Is this where that comes into play on the internet?
That's a possibility.
Well, wait a minute. If someone kills somebody themselves, posts and records themselves doing it, and uploads it to a site, that's not illegal to watch that video. So even if the FCC come in, they'd have to start changing laws. It's not illegal to watch a video of someone being killed.
No,
I mean, it's offensive, but I mean, to certain people. But
that's not what we're really talking about. I don't think it's not about what happens to the people who are witnessing or the people on the other end of the content. It's not about them. It's about the people who are uploading it, right? Because the fine goes to the person who drops the F-bomb, not the people that were offended by hearing it. So,
I guess I'm just overthinking it. I just don't see how they could step in. And honestly, I would imagine there's entire cyber units of police officers in the FBI looking for pedophiles and shit like that. So I mean, that's pretty much what the crime is worried about on the internet.
Well, no, that's totally.
I know it's happened a handful of times of people recording shit and putting it up in the last 6-7 months, whatever. But Is it an epidemic, or is it a case of we hear about the one in every couple 100,000 people that do something like this?
No, I think what Chris is getting at, though, is that we already have this. We've had this environment for a long time, almost as long as we've had television. We've had, like Chris was saying, the standards and practices, and those fees come from. It's not the FCC monitoring every television show and hitting them with a fine when they see or hear something they don't like. It's people calling and complaining. And the whole reason that the FCC is in this position to do that policing is because the citizens are asking them to. They're saying, we don't like the idea that just anything can be put on television and beamed directly in their houses. So we want you, government, to control the information that goes through the wires, over the airs, into the box in my living room. That's really no different when you're talking about the internet. So, yes, absolutely, we probably will be looking at a situation in the near future where the general populace gives up and says, we don't want the internet to be free. I want to know that I can just let my kid get on my laptop and he's not going to see anything fucked up. The same way that I can let him watch TV and not see anything fucked up. Because it's all network television, and I know that they're not going to allow any of that shit to go on because they will get fined if they do. That's what we'll want out of our internet as well.
That's a scary thought to me. I would hope you're wrong, but the more I sit and actually think about it, you're probably not. People are fucking stupid.
Well,
they're constantly willing to trade in.
So I said, man, it's always back to trade in. They're constantly willing to trade in part of their, some of their privacy,
their freedom.
Let's not necessarily get rid of some rights, but let's trim some of the rights that you have, and you'll be a little bit safer. Is that an okay trade-off? Oh yeah, sure. And I don't understand it.
Well, let me.
See what I'm saying. This all means. This is why we can't have nice things, everybody.
Let me ask you a question, though.
We have this nice platform now where information can be shared freely, erroneous or non-erroneous. And we're going to fuck it up. We're starting to fuck it up.
No, easy. Listen to this. Okay, we understand that technology is progressing exponentially, and nobody's going to be able to stop it. Now, do you feel like we are maturing at all at this point? As a people, are we maturing?
We're going
right?
backwards.
So we're not maturing along with our technology. Instead, we may even be regressing slightly. So this gap is only going to get bigger. And the bigger that gap gets, the further away that we get from understanding and using responsibly technology, the more scared we are of it, right? Why is the FCC demanded by the people to police what goes through television? Because mom and dad are old and they don't know how to operate the remote. And the kids know better and they know how to find all the shit. Same shit with the internet. Why would we want them to police the internet? Well, because I can get on Google and go to IKEA and shop, but I don't know where to find all this crazy shit, and my 10-year-old knows how to look all this shit up. So somebody's got to police him.
Yeah, my nephew probably knew what DVD was before I did, because he's always had an internet connection.
So yeah, absolutely. I think it's inevitable that at some point the World Wide Web as we know it now will be controlled by the government the same way that they control the airwaves in this country. Because just because we have the internet doesn't mean that we know what to do with it yet. It doesn't automatically make us wiser and more mature and smarter about technology just because we have it everywhere and it's easily affordable. I mean, cars are relatively affordable and people do dumb shit with them all day long and kill other people with them. We don't necessarily progress. We don't actually. It's not even a necessary thing. We don't, as a species, progress at the same rate as our technology. We're always throwing our technology ahead of us and hoping that it'll drag us into the future.
When Bald Brian this week on Adam Carolla show said the internet became the opposite of what we thought it was going to do. You know, initially we thought it was, we're going to be able to have all this information at our fingertips, and everything's just going to be all about facts, because we're going to have access to all the facts, all the knowledge, and it has become the complete opposite of that.
Well, right, because it's like an info dump. Like, you watch Better Call Saul? I think it was in season 2 where they buried them in paperwork just to keep them busy. This is what big lawyer firms do. Especially if they're going up against a small guy. Say, okay, well, here, you want those documents? Well, here they are all printed out and in 20 banker's boxes that you have to go through by hand. So you ask for some information and you get all the information. So it's useless because you don't even know where to find the pertinent parts in there. And so it's the same thing. You want to find out something on the internet, well, you type it into Google, and you take the first 3 hits, and if they're all the same, well, that's the truth. And there's really no point digging any deeper because who's to know what's the truth and not from there?
Yeah.
Rich, your vape is loud in your mic.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
No problem.
Yeah, I just had a thought, and I guess this is a really scary thought. Remember when, right after 9/11, here come the Patriot Act, and people were resisting that so much. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing was, well, aren't you afraid of the terrorists? And people were like, no, not that afraid. Not enough to give up all my freedom. Now we have people begging. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just the question, aren't you afraid of the terrorists, is kind of laughable in itself, because it's like admitting defeat, right? As much as we joke about that's how the terrorists win, that is how the terrorists win. As a matter of fact, that's the only way they win. You're afraid and you fuck up your day because of it. Terrorists won. That's the only win they really get in the end.
But yeah, that question was posed to people. People said, no, I'm not more than I fear my government coming in telling me what they know what's best for me, and, unchecked, just being able to spy on its own people. And now, 15 years later, here we sit, and I'm sure there's people that'd be more than happy to give up freedom just to get the illusion of security, and, I won't have to run across the goatsy pic on Facebook and be offended. Oh, God, that's horrible. How dare I see that? Or worse, my kids might see it. Well,
or the idea that they are willing.
There's no two way around it. If you got kids, they're going to see the shit these days. It's all there is to it. Unless you just completely raise them in a vacuum, homeschool them, and keep them away from all electronics.
Hey, 30% of millennials don't believe that living in a democracy is that important. That was a scary statistic that Bill Maher, it was like a month or so ago. It's just like, wow, that means 1 out of every 3 of those motherfuckers.
Do you know how many times I've seen protesters on the left at these protests since the election burning signs that say free speech? And I'm going, are you fucking kidding me? What do you Are we to that point to where we can't hear a counter argument without, we just want to squash it and just remove that person's right to say that shit?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't think we've gotten to the point where we're willing to so much give up more of our rights. The interesting thing is, though, I think the election of Trump kind of proves that there's people in this country who are more than willing to give up other people's rights in order for them to be more safe. But when you're talking about a democracy, there's no such thing as other people's rights. There's rights, and they affect everyone. So saying, well, it's okay to, deport these people or lock up these people or arrest these people for smoking weed, because these are all people that I don't like around me anyways. And, well, okay, but next it's your son, your neighbor, you, who falls afoul of popular opinion, and now the government's been charged to lock you up, to deport your ass. So there's no
Yeah, but these are
such
type of
thing.
people that don't. These type of people don't think that shit through, man.
Oh yeah, they don't understand that when the government reaches for one person, it's possible they're reaching for you with the other hand. And there's really nothing to stop them once you give them the A-OK to say, well, hey, take away my whatever right, my right to free speech, or my right to unreasonable search and seizure. You know, do it because I want these Mexicans out of this country that are, quote unquote, causing all this crime. But you just gave up everyone's rights. They don't write Mexicans only when they write the law. It's everybody.
Well, of course, and that's just the latest boogeyman that the politicians on the right decide to use. Oh, the Mexicans are coming to get us, like the Tommyknockers in the middle of the night or some shit. I mean, honestly, since Trump has been elected and he's been in power, besides that little blip on the radar where he was talking about they're going to go ahead and build the wall even without Mexico paying for it right now. They're going to get us back later. That little period that lasted for a week. The travel ban really wasn't a Mexican thing. I think that was more of of trying to basically choke the flow of Muslims into this country.
Hey, don't quote. I was just ranting in general. I'm not. Don't quote me on any of that as like fact. Like, it was the travel ban had nothing to do with Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, so that was the big issue, and with an issue that supposedly so many people decided on, and now that's just been like, okay, that's been put on the back burner. I'm sure on some level the work to go ahead and build the wall is moving forward.
Oh yeah.
I still have my doubts if we'll ever see a completed one, period, but that's just me.
We'll see enough of a section of photographs so it looks like it goes forever, and then people will calm the fuck down about it, most likely. Forget about it.
I deal with one of the many facets of my job I deal with is contractors, constructions, that whole process. I'm telling you, it's going to be about 3 years into his term before they even have all the contractors in place, before they got all the permits pulled, before they can actually move any dirt. It's already going to be time to start running for re-election.
Plus all the controversy that's going around just the bidding process. Like there was a Mexican.
Plus the federal government's involved. So throw that in there too. Sorry.
The federal. Well, take that, and they're looking at. But there was a contract company that was owned by a Mexican man, and they're like, well, we can't have a Mexican. I mean, yeah, we want the Mexicans to pay for it. We don't want him to build it. You know, he's going to make like a trap door in it or something, and all his buddies are going to go through. So there's going to be so much controversy around the just contracting of it that it'll take forever.
He's going to underbid everybody, man. That's how he's going to get it. Cheap labor, man. He's going to underbid. Hey, man, I'll do this for $30,000 less than that guy.
No, he's not getting it at all. Trump doesn't want him to get a contract. He's not even going to consider it because he's Mexican.
That's a contracting joke. He didn't get it.
Yeah, I know. I get the joke, but your joke shits on my point. Makes it sound like I said the opposite of what I did.
Gotcha. But I don't know. I don't.
Right. Oh.
It has happened on smaller scales. I mean, around the country with buildings here in Detroit, that fucking jail downtown. Hey, let's start building it. Yeah, let's start building it. Okay, let's stop building it. All right, no, we're going to turn it into something different. Now we don't know what the fuck we're doing with it. And I think they said it's been close to $500 million sunk into that thing just for it to sit there, half completed. For what now? Going on 7-8 years?
That is a county government project, everybody. The wall is a federal government project. You know, the federal government, home of the SBA, who takes you a cool fucking whole quarter to get you your money. 3 months. Dude, like, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, a lot of my opinion on government has changed when I took this gig a few years ago. Because, too, I'd watch all of these small business people just get totally fucked by the state governments that just mandate shit and go, you have to do this.
Yeah.
Are you going to give us any tax breaks for it? No. You going to give us any subsidizing for this expensive thing you're making us do? No. What the fuck? Oh, and I'm paying more taxes than the average citizen. That's my thank you. Is a fucking fist coated with Vaseline right up my fucking asshole.
And it's something that both parties have been fucking harping about for going on 20 years now. That we need to bring back the small businesses and et cetera, et cetera. Then why do both parties allow this bullshit to happen if that's really what they want? The only answer I have is they really don't want it.
They don't. They want the voters, and then when the small businessman has problems, call your local, call your mayor, call the governor, call somebody. That's their job to regulate it in your state.
Mandy asked me a question a couple weeks ago. She said, "Do you think the government is truly in the interest of the people or business?" I thought about it for 2 seconds and said business. That's really how it goes. I mean, and think about it, yeah, because what's my $5,000 a year really doing? You know, I paid a police officer. I paid one police officer's check for two consecutive pay periods, and that's it. You know, they're gonna kiss businesses' ass because businesses are paying a majority of the taxes in this country. So, I mean...
They're also literally writing some of these laws.
Yes.
You want to talk about what a lobbyist does. People think that a lobbyist is just the guy who pays for the steak dinner for the senator and says, don't you think that everybody wants, less regulation for our industry so that we can make more of our product and everyone will be happier in this country? No, there's that aspect of it. But the bulk of it is actually writing the language that goes into the law. Here's what we want. Pharmaceutical company. Hey, we're going to be doing reform on medical care in this country. So Pfizer, why don't you, present us with what you think is a reasonable plan? You should know better than anyone else, right? You're in this business. So yeah, they are literally writing the laws.
I'm telling you, law enforcement, big oil, they are in on keeping the teleporter down. I'm telling you, man, that would fuck up so much shit. The teleporter.
Well, who was it?
Disrupt so much industry.
I forget what gas company or what oil company it was.
I say it half joking and half truthfully. It would disrupt so many things.
Shit, sorry. Mike is buzzing again. 1 sec.
What?
I gotta get a different stand. This shit is fucking stripped on this mic. Damn it. No wonder.
You sound like you're standing outside, like, hey, Bob, the hurricane should be here in about 10 hours.
Okay, that's better. Sorry.
Yeah, man. I think I had up to maybe 3 or 4 things. Was law enforcement, big oil. Oh, the airlines. The airlines don't want none of the teleporter. Oh, and the auto industry. Yeah, that's right.
The teleporter.
4 people are in on it, man.
I don't know that many people want the teleporter. You fucking can't. We can't get people to get their head around a self-driving car, and you're gonna say, "Oh, your only example in popular culture is The Fly of people using a teleporter."
I seen the Jetsons. Well, fuck that. Star Trek.
Jetsons didn't teleport; they took tubes.
Yeah.
Star Trek did.
Star Trek. I mean, beaming is obviously teleporting. I don't know. How did we get here? Oh, government cares about business.
You know that Star Trek is fiction, right?
I got some friends you don't tell that to. They'd break down. That's not true. Take it back.
I mean, using Star Trek as an example in your conspiracy of the government to keep teleportation down, not doing you any favors. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I wouldn't cite Star Trek when I made the speech. You know,
When-
I would leave it out of the manifesto. I don't want people to think I'm totally insane.
Oh, shit.
What? Oh, so hey, whoops! I'll say it on right now. Hey, guess who's wrong? Me. See you, Bill O'Reilly. I thought he was going to weather that storm. Like Fox didn't lose any money. It just moved around. His ratings were better. But we were joking in the chat area, and what they invoked the Cosby rule.
The rule of 37.
Yeah. All right, that's the 37th one. You got to go, Bill.
37 in a row?
Yeah, maybe.
No, I don't know.
It's the Kevin Smith / rule of 37. Like, that's where we got to call bullshit on your actions here.
Yeah.
You know, at 22, bitches be crazy. You know, 30, but 37, that's over the edge. What I thought was funny was that he's getting $25 million to leave. Now, how long until you think he either makes a call to like someone like Glenn Beck?
Oh, I read an article. There's a bunch of people fucking blowing him up. A bunch of
Oh yeah.
I guess competitors that Fox has that we don't know about because they have like, I think the closest Fox is in like 90 million homes. The closest number I saw was 35 million, and it's some crap. I forget what it's some network. You know, they were talking about they'd love to have O'Reilly. Supposedly the Blaze wants to talk to O'Reilly. Him and Glenn Beck can start hanging out again.
I heard for $10,000 he'll come right to your house and yell right at your kids.
He's gonna tell your kids they're gonna be doing a lot of doobie rolling when they're living in a van down by the river?
He got to do shit. He just got $25 million to get fired.
Well, here's the question: is he so much of an egomaniac he wants to be on TV, or would he be happy with his own network like InfoWars or The Blaze? That's why I said he's either going to go to Glenn Beck. If he doesn't end up with Glenn Beck, or if he doesn't end up, because there's even a chance, because it's all about that almighty dollar. So CNN might fucking sign him if they think they can fucking get some sort of forgiveness and still bring in the ratings from him.
No, they would not.
No.
You don't think so?
That's ludicrous.
You guys are both smoking some really good shit today left over from yesterday. If they thought they could get away with it without any backlash or minimal backlash and increased ratings on a time slot,
Oh yeah, but that's not going to happen.
Right, that's not going to happen. They would get so much backlash. They couldn't even consider it. It's more likely that he takes over Sean Spicer's job. That was Chris's prediction.
Well, what I'm getting at is that if he doesn't decide to start his own network, which to me would be dumb because it seems like he has a loyal fan base that pays for every single fucking book he publishes, watches him every day. I'm sure they pay a subscription fee, a monthly subscription fee to listen to him go on rants.
Well, it's interesting that while, apparently Bill O'Reilly didn't lose any viewers during this process, and meanwhile, Alex Jones doesn't seem to be faring too well lately, and with the proceedings on his divorce hearing being made public. I don't know if you guys have caught any of that.
Oh yeah,
my favorite was. It came out that he smokes weed, right? Occasionally, in order to test its strength so he can monitor it. And he's also here to tell us it's a lot stronger.
Thanks.
I'm like, oh yeah, I test its strength every day. You got to keep up on this shit, Right? It's like technology. It's moving exponentially. Like one day, you don't want some killer strain to be out there and you not even know about it.
Yeah, dude, Alex. I mean, you can actually pick a number in certain, like I was in Oregon, you can buy them by the number. I had a cartridge the other day that was 81% THC. I got one today. It's like 60.
I think
it's stronger.
I think definitely Bill O'Reilly could slide right into that position of Alex Jones is like the lone wolf, no man owns him. He can say whatever he wants. And that's going to be Bill O'Reilly now because he's got a built-in audience who clearly have no qualms with somebody grabbing the occasional ass or expecting a blowjob for a job or any of the numerous accusations that were thrown against him. His core audience, they don't give a fuck.
Well, his core audience isn't the one that got advertisers to leave his show. In fact,
Right.
you could argue that 90% of the people that made that happen don't watch his show in the first place, unless they're the watchdogs, the type of people who watch the show and write down everything they think they can get him in trouble for.
Yeah,
But
I think
what
if you're
is
Bill
the-
O'Reilly, this is you get into the content game. This is you now just cut out the middleman anyways. You make all the money. Fuck having to have Fox, give you a cut of what they're making.
Right.
You make all the money now.
Well, because the advertisers, they have an Achilles heel, and that's the fact that all anybody has to do is say, you're associating with this person. And they go, no, we're not. And they have to pull all their ads. I mean, it's not like the advertisers could go, now we believe that he's innocent. I mean, they're not going to go down with that ship. There's no reason for them to. So it's kind of like like we were talking about in the protests earlier. As soon as the shit goes down where they are being associated with somebody else who's got some bad news floating around them, they're the fuck out. They don't have a choice once that action starts. So, yeah, Bill O'Reilly goes for, shit. He charges people $10, $15 a month. And what does he really need? Him, a little studio, some cameras, some extra assholes to get on TV and talk shit.
Well, to give you an idea,
He will have 23 kookaroos if he charges people like $10 a month.
Like, don't even worry about the $25 million that he's getting just to leave is going to be chump change. This guy is probably going to end up one of the richest men in America when this shit is over. The only question is, can he get enough money out of these people, out of his core audience before they die?
Well, that's what I was going to say. To give you a comparison, you got a guy like Artie Lang who has a subscription podcast. I think he charges $5 a month. He says he has a couple thousand. He didn't give a clear number, but he said he had a couple thousand subscribers, and he brings in over 100,000 after taxes just to sit there and do a show for 2 hours every couple days. Now, Bill O'Reilly's got to have way more. I mean, we're talking 5, maybe 6 figures worth of people willing to subscribe to something like that. And they would be willing to pay more than $5 a month.
Well,
check this shit
the other
out.
thing that Artie Lang had said, though, is that he also was aware that he had hundreds of thousands of downloads illegally, but he was fine with that. He has his core subscribers. He makes good money off of that, and he gets the word out. So,
if Bill O'Reilly can get 1,000 people to give him $20 a month, he will make $250,000 a year.
Are you really in business?
What's that? No, I'm just saying.
Have you ever heard of overhead? I mean, he's got to produce a show still, and I don't think he's going to be like, put a microphone on my kitchen table like Artie Lang.
No, but I'm saying
he's used to Fox News. He's going to want production value.
I agree, but I'm just saying it just is as minimal as 1,000 people. I'm saying that's all he's got. He can make $250,000 a year if 1,000 people give him $20. Much more than 1,000 people will give that guy $20. I guess is my point.
I think 20 might be pushing it a little bit. I'm putting him at like HBO level. I'm going
old Whitey, man.
15,
they got $20 a
month. Bill O'Reilly Go. Pay $15 a month. You can listen to anything on demand.
You might, man.
I think just Bill O'Reilly Go. I like that idea. Just go. Well, I guess Tucker Carlson is taking his place. I bet he had to hold his bow tie to stop from spinning around.
Doesn't it seem like going from like Robert Downey Jr. or not Robert, but Morton Downey Jr. to like Phil Donahue. Like you're gonna go from Bill O'Reilly to Tucker Carlson? Seriously, dude?
Honestly, I don't mind Tucker. I always like him when he's on Bill Maher's show. Even when I hear him say shit that I'm just like, you're just patently wrong. It's not like he's wrong idealistically a lot of the times. He's not wrong factually a lot of the times. I mean, like anybody on Fox, he can take those facts and mince them up the way that fits his narrative. But I also appreciate the fact that he's not a shout 'em down bully like Bill O'Reilly is. And he is actually pretty good at debating somebody and ripping them apart in ways that aren't just like, I'm done talking to you, goodbye.
Well, definitely. That's what I'm getting at. I mean, with Bill O'Reilly, you're getting a pit bull, who the threat is he could come off his chain at any moment. Mm-hmm. And with Tucker Carlson, you're kind of getting like, not one of them lap dogs that thinks it's tougher than it is, but maybe like, like a nice mid-size, small dog. I don't
know that he's nicer. I mean, he's more civil. But I don't think he's nicer. He can cut you more. You can laugh off Bill O'Reilly, but it's when Tucker cuts you, you're gonna know it. You're gonna bleed, man.
Yeah, but it's the difference between people wanting to watch baseball and football. People don't watch baseball for the collisions. They watch football for the collisions. So I'm thinking that a lot of Bill O'Reilly's. I'm just saying, a lot of Bill O'Reilly's old audience is probably going to find Tucker Carlson a little too pedestrian for them, unless he steps up the hyperbole when he's on air.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm saying.
Right, because I think it's just, Bill O'Reilly's show is cathartic for his core audience, because that's all they wanted to do was yell at people they disagreed with all day long, but they couldn't. So when they come home, they watch Bill O'Reilly yell at other people that he doesn't agree with. They go, I wanted to yell at that Mexican guy earlier, but now I can just watch Bill O'Reilly and relax. I don't know why I'm so anti-Mexican today.
Anti-Mexican? Okay.
Well, I just keep singling them out, I feel like, when I'm talking about people hating other people. It seems to be a lot of Mexicans, though.
Oh, that's because we're scared to say anything about Muslims because we don't want them to come bomb us and cut our heads off with their religion of peace. So we got to pick on some groups, and the Mexicans were next in line.
It's always brown, isn't it? It's always a shade of brown.
It's just other.
The enemy. The last 20 years. Just pick a brown guy. We hate him. Or we're using him as an enemy.
Yeah, but that's here in America in present times, or whatever recent history, I guess, since we came here. But think about it, man. This is where people are like, oh, white supremacy, worldwide white supremacy, and I'm going, you understand how power works in this world? Every race has enslaved another race at one point in our history in this world. I mean, people act like, the continent of Africa was this peaceful place until white man showed up and started selling everybody. No, that was tribal warfare. Tribes would take over other tribes, kill all the men, raise the children as their own, and use the women like basically breeding cattle and slave labor. I mean, these things, I don't know, these things seem to happen.
And the good old days.
Well, no, just think about it, man. That's one of the things that listening to watching a lot of Berkeley tapes, I heard a whole lot of, you have no idea what you're talking about, you straight white male, or, you're straight or this and that. And, you are constantly being given stuff because of your whiteness and all that. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, and if you lived in the Middle East back in the day, in the Bible times, and you were white, you weren't shit. I mean, Jesus Christ, they were fucking killing their own people over religion and shit, and they looked exactly the same. I don't know. it's irritating me this week that when I keep seeing articles and reading articles and hearing reports about how all this is due to white supremacy and all this shit, all these riots with Berkeley and all this, and I'm going, I don't really see it. I see a bunch of white nationalists who are punks who are there out to start fights. They're like the skinheads when we were in high school. There's 20 of them if you get them all together, but if you catch them separately, they're a bunch of bitches anyway, so... Sorry, that's my rant for the week. So anyways, we got Tucker Carlson taking over for O'Reilly. That shooting, and where'd you say that shooting happened with that Nation of Islam guy?
Fresno. Okay.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he said a lot of crazy shit. I don't know how much he was in the Nation of Islam or anything. I think he was just, crazy violent guy who decided to shoot a bunch of white people because he didn't like them and yelled out a lot of random shit while he did so.
Well, no, what I'm getting at is I don't know if he was a member. He definitely doesn't look the part. I mean, they definitely have a certain look, especially if you're in the inner circle. Obviously, he wasn't in that. I think he was a self-appointed member, if that makes sense. That was just a group that preached a lot of what he could twist around into his rationalization for doing what he did.
I think he was as much Nation of Islam as the Orlando shooter was ISIS.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was when I heard his name, and I was like, okay, so here come the typical, anymore, it's just obligatory. The Muslim comments, was he Muslim? Is he from here? Was he radicalized here? The more I read up on the guy, this is nothing like anybody who came over from a different country was, felt they were being marginalized.
This is a good old American angry black man.
Yeah, the more I read on him, because initially I was like, oh, he shouted Allah Akbar, his name's Muhammad. I'm like, oh, here we fucking go. And yeah, the more I learn on the guy, I'm like, yeah, the more I'm coming over to the side of the fence of like, this is just dude who snapped.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is I haven't heard anybody really play on the whole racial issue surrounding his crimes, which to me, that makes sense. He killed people. People are like, well, he's been charged with a hate crime. Okay, well, if you're going around killing random people, it's not because you love them. All right? I mean, so I get it, whatever. But what I thought was interesting is I was waiting for
racism is one thing, but racism to the point of killing people is mental illness.
Exactly. And so, besides the talk of that, I really haven't heard a whole lot of talk about race. What I've heard is what I joked about in the chat when the story come up between us, which was how long until someone tries to twist this into he's ISIS Muslim versus he was quoting his, Elijah Muhammad and Farrakhan in his rap CD or whatever. This guy was not like from overseas or family from overseas and had connections over there. But I've seen articles imply that, well, this is the type of, we're not even safe from homegrown Muslims.
Well, look, you're not guaranteed safe from anyone anywhere. The crazy people exist, and that's what's so crazy about them. It's because they just snap out of nowhere and kill people they don't even know. I mean, that's why I got so... I know we had, well, at least Chris and I did kind of had it out on our chat the other day about this issue, and just the idea of associating this man's action with terror really got my underwear in a twist, because it's fear-mongering to do that. To try and lump anyone that has any association with Islam or anything under the umbrella of terrorism.
Well, I just think
it lessens our focus on what terrorism actually is.
I just think I was wildly misunderstood now that I hear you talk. I just wanted, empirically, when you first hear he shouted Allah Akbar and his name's Muhammad, let's have it on the table. It's obviously now, the more I've read up on it, okay, we have taken it off the table.
Well, we're right. And, I think this was pretty fresh after it happened, and we didn't know a lot of shit.
Correct.
So we were both kind of jumping to conclusions, but what else can you do? I mean, but I'm just always fearful of jumping always to the conclusion of, well, this must have been terrorism. I mean, even like the shit that happened in France this week. The policemen were shot. And they said, all the reports that I was hearing was, all we know right now is a guy with a gun shot a couple cops and tried to get away, and they shot him and killed him. And we're still gathering information. And Trump has to get out there right away, and this is horrible what happened in France. They don't have all the information, but it looks like terrorism. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Okay, it turns out it probably was actual terrorism. This guy may have had actual connections to ISIS. But
ISIS did claim responsibility for it.
There you go. And that's not always proof, but that's pretty solid evidence. But what is to be gained from being first, I called it, it was terrorism. Like,
because it's fucking Donald Trump. That's why.
Right. But yes, but you're the fucking president.
Well, dude, that's the president we have now. We have the Rich. We have the Iceman president. we got the. I called it, everybody, president. That's who we got now. Like,
right?
I guess
because
it
definitely fits his narrative.
Like 3 months in, like, all right, this guy's a nut job. He's not gonna become unpresident until they find some shady shit with. It did come out today that Russia said they tried to use some of his advisors to fucking influence the election. We can get to that later.
Wait,
man, that's our president, man. We got that guy.
Well, no, but I was just using him as an example. Because the idea of jumping to the conclusion of terrorism is really almost kind of trying to do the terrorist job for them. Like, this is great. All we have to do is we have to, like, maybe send somebody over to that country, or sometimes just inspire the right person in that country already to do what we want them to do. And we do that once or twice, and then everything that happens in that country, everyone's going, it must be terrorism. Look at how it spreads. It's beautiful. That's exactly what they want. They want everyone to freak out and think that terrorism is all around them. So thanks, Trump, and everybody else who jumps to the conclusion of, this must be terrorism, because you are helping the terrorists. And I don't say that facetiously or even lightly. If I truly believe the main goal of terrorism is to terrorize people, to make them feel fear and change their lives. And anything that anybody else does to further that is in line with the terrorists, not on your side.
Yeah, but hasn't terrorism become a catch-all phrase in the last 16 years? Anytime there's anytime there's any attack on us, we don't even bother to. We give and don't everybody jump to conclusions that it's terrorism. We give that lip service, and then an hour later, it's confirmed. So and so had contacts with whatever group, radical group. Mm-hmm. So now it's almost like it doesn't even mean anything anymore. People say, we had a terrorist attack on us. Well,
I know that's just words, but I mean, these are terms that we use to identify major problems that we want to take care of, right? So it's like if, I don't know, well, apparently, I guess we're already doing that kind of changing the definition of rape in this country, right? Rape is this horrible crime that we don't even like to talk about rape. We don't joke about rape because it's so horrible. Okay, but you're also saying that, you fooled around with a guy and then you felt like you shouldn't have afterwards, and that was rape. Well, no. Like, there's a reason we have these terms. And the more, the thinner you spread it, a term like terrorism, to apply to everything that freaks you out, well, then what do we have to do? We just have to come up with a new word so that we can identify. Because if you can't identify the problems, then how the fuck are you going to come up with a solution to take care of them?
Yeah, but I don't know. It just goes back to me, when we overuse terms like this, we label everything we don't like as terrorism, and it's been that way for 16 years. Are we really shocked we're to the point where that's the lead that our government set for us, and we now, 16 years later, we seem like as a society, anything we don't like, we want to label as some sort of attack, or, you know, oh, it's racism or sexism or the patriarchy or whatever the fuck, you know. It's just another thing. It's like it's lost its meaning, and even if we come up with another term, we're just going to beat that term into the fucking ground. I mean, that's the whole point of this. The whole point of a war on terror is it's a perpetual war that has no end in sight. There's never been a war on terror won. There's been wars on terror abandoned, and there's been wars on terror lost. So what makes us think we're any different? Thing is, our leaders will never get up there and say, hey, by the way, this is going to be one of those things that we're going to basically fight until probably the end of human civilization. We call, you know, we had the Cold War, that ended. Boom. Here comes terrorism. Perfect. This is even better than the Cold War, that we can stay in a state of perpetual war without the nonsense of going through what people would see on the TV with Vietnam and Korea and going, why are we over in these fucking places? This isn't World War II. This isn't, if we don't win this fight, we're fucked. You know, now we still have troops in Afghanistan. We still have shit happening in Iraq. It doesn't get talked about. No one cares about it. That's the danger of using these type of words to the point where they have no meaning. People just shrug at you and go, okay, Chicken Little, the sky is falling again. There's only so many times you can cry wolf and we're going to come running. Yeah,
well, you know, war used to have a certain meaning. Now, we're not talking definition. If you look up war in the dictionary, it's not going to say this. But the understood meaning of war in America, it came with authorization. If we are, as a country, at war, that is the president getting approval from Congress, maybe not so much anymore, and deciding as a country to take action. You don't just talk about, you know, war isn't, you know, a covert mission or something like that, or a precise strike. It is our nation has decided to, you know, do whatever, do what we feel is right. The situation has gotten to this point. Now, it's almost ingenious the way that they've declared the war on terror, because that is what they see. What the government hears when it hears the word war is authorization to spend however they see fit to take care of that problem. Hey, we're at war. Okay? This is a serious situation. So we're going to make all the tanks and guns and just stack money on planes and cash and send it on over. Throw money at the problem constantly. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
just add
I guess
$54 billion to that defense budget right quick.
Yeah. I mean,
and we've had 2 military actions since then. Coincidence? No.
Yeah, I hate to be that guy, but I kind of fall in line with what you're saying, Chris. I don't. When it comes to government shit, I don't think there's a whole lot of coincidences. I think they're more likely to be caught with their pants around their ankles than they are to be caught in the middle of a coincidence that they did, you know, a quote unquote coincidence that happened naturally without any manipulation.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this one out there, because I think it's only a matter of time before we start hearing about associations with what happened in France, the terrorist attack in France recently. that's going to be connected to what's her name, Marine Le Pen, who's running for office, because the timing is just too convenient. It is just way too convenient. And maybe it's because I recently listened to, I don't know if you guys listened to This American Life, but they had a whole story about Russia and Putin's rise to power in Russia and how it all started with apartment buildings being burnt down. That Putin's, people attached to Putin, not that anyone's directly proven, but again, it's a little too convenient, started burning down apartment buildings in the middle of the night with people inside of them to terrorize the nation, to make the nation stand up and say, protect us from this evil. And Putin was the man to do so. He murdered his own people to get into power in the first place. And I don't believe that France is necessarily above that action.
Yeah, but what people don't take into consideration,
tinfoil.
Is that
my tinfoil hat is grand. It looks like a ship.
It's like a tinfoil swan.
Yes,
on your
it's like
head.
a swan.
The leaders of these terrorist groups understand better than probably anyone else that they want leaders like Trump in office, leaders like Bush in office. They don't want guys like Obama who's just going to do drone strikes and not put boots on the ground and escalate the situation that way. I mean, so for them to do a terrorist attack in France, if the female politician you're mentioning is the one I'm thinking of, she's the one that's very much like kind of France's answer to Brexit and Trump. Am I correct?
Yes. Hello? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I lost my mic there for a second. Yes, absolutely. A nationalist.
Yeah, she's the hardliner as far as immigration, letting more Muslims in, et cetera, et cetera. So she
wants closed borders.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. So
for trade and people.
So to say that, France, like, they might let this attack happen because it'll push more people towards her. Even if they don't, the terrorists understand. The closer to the election that they pull out shit like this, the more people who are on the fence were going to go, you know what, let me trade a little bit more of my freedom for just a little bit more of that safety. And so they'll vote for her. I mean, it's...
Well, right, because the extreme leaders like Trump and Marine Le Pen, they actually help the terrorist cause. Because
exactly.
The terrorists can point to them and say, see, I told you all those people hated us. I told you.
Remember when Bush got up there and said, basically, this is a crusade against the axis of evil?
God, the dumbest word that he used in his whole 8 years as president, crusade. The
people that were sitting there, the leaders of these terrorist groups, at that point, were rock fucking hard. They were just excited because they were like, thank you, you just did our recruiting for the next 2 years.
They're
Thank you.
Emptying like
that.
2-3 clips into the air.
Don't worry, we jack another CIA truck next week. But that's see how fucked up that is, that we can sit here and if a country allowed an attack to happen because they thought it would help push the country in the direction they wanted, the fact that none of us would put that by any country, including our own, doesn't it speak volumes about where we are right now as far as the situation in the world? I mean, we don't even trust our own country to do the right thing, so let alone these other fucking countries. And then you got Mattis saying, go ahead and tell that little Kim Jong-un or whatever his name is, oh yeah, we got our sword raised. Go ahead, make your move. Really? Are you trying to piss off this little man in the war? Seriously? I mean,
yeah. Nobody asked for a dick measuring contest,
and it's like, okay, exactly. And I'm definitely afraid that with a guy like Bush in office,
Trump,
or not, but well, kind of like Bush would, like Bush did.
Reflex.
Like Bush did, I'm afraid that Trump would be the type of guy that spread our military too thin, trying to fight too many quote unquote wars or conflicts on too many fronts.
Oh, yeah, because he's reactionary.
And then meanwhile, even if we don't lose ground by having our military spread all over the place, we don't gain ground either. The best we walk out of is we just fucking throw our hands up and say, fuck it, we're done.
Right. Oh, no, but we lost ground. Definitely lost ground with North Korea this last week. All this boisterous talk about what we're going to do if North Korea steps out of line, and Trump says, "Oh, I've got an armada headed in your way if you decide to launch a missile. So don't even think about it." And then what comes out? It wasn't an armada, and it wasn't heading towards North Korea. It was heading away from it. You don't think people are going to find that shit out? That's going to get out? Now you just look like an idiot. And while the American people are going to forget about it, North Korea ain't forgetting shit.
Exactly.
They know what a big talking pussy you are, you piece of shit. And they have no reason to back down.
Yeah, but North Korea needs to, like...
That's right. I called our president a piece of shit.
I mean, I know I'm asking a little more from them in the lucidity in the reality department, but it wouldn't be a long action. It's not really that big of a country. Like, quite honestly,
I think it would be a lot longer than you can imagine.
We got them by numbers in, like, just population. Our military probably has more people in it than their country.
We also did 50, 60 years ago, the first time we went to Korea, and we had them outnumbered in Vietnam too. And I think we've proven that we're not so good at fighting on their territory.
Well, we didn't have drones 50 years ago either. Technology has come a long way. Like, I'm just always of the...
but you know,
like, there is... If Russia or China gets froggy, that's something to pay attention to. But North Korea, it'd be really short fight. Just Japan. Like, it's really honestly how I feel about it.
Yeah, but we can't go.
Actually,
I
think it's a short fight. It's a short fight that you want to be afraid of.
We can't go crazy with North Korea because you got China that fucking has interest in North Korea and is not going to let shit get out of fucking control. I mean, that's something that, like, of all the military shit we're doing, it's always making somebody money. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be doing it. And so, for whatever reason, from whoever who is in China who has business interest in North Korea must be making money and must want him to keep acting a fool because, well, they don't want to upset the apple cart. My thing is with Trump, he's so fucking... Yeah, we have the best bombers, we have the best this, we have the best that. We're going to take you out. I'm going to sick Mattis on you. Like, really?
I got the biggest bomb.
Yeah, I got the mother of all bombs. What are you going to do about it? You know, it's like, dude, stop walking around provoking people who aren't even. It's North Korea. They do this shit once a year, a couple times a year. They put on. Don't we? Unless it's all stock file footage. Don't we always see at least a couple times a year video footage of some show of military force in North Korea, and we look at it and we go, that's nice. But the problem is our military is so big, we can't line them up downtown somewhere and have them march around and look scary on film. We're actually, you know, with our fingers in every pie in every corner of the world right now. Sorry. I mean, for Trump to react the way he does, this just does not bode well for us. I don't know.
And news for you, everybody. The "Hey, I called it" president is also probably the "well, fuck me, fuck you" president, which is dangerous.
Pete, wow, I don't think
so sunny and cheery on this show.
I don't think the average person realizes how many businesses that we probably think of as American through and through actually have dealings with China. I mean, look at the movie industry. You know, all these Marvel movies that are coming out, who Disney owns, they have to recut, re-edit to get released in China, and they do so willingly. They don't even wait for the Chinese censors to go, you have to take this out and this out. They'll just they'll shoot one version for America, one version for China. Now, these are companies that are making hundreds of billions of dollars by putting entertainment out in our country and entertainment out in China. Do you think they want a situation where we can't get anything in and out of China because of military bullshit? Fuck no.
Yeah, that's the reason that all this shit is so watered down and generic. It's not because, we want everybody in America to come see the movie. No, we want the whole world to come see the movie.
Exactly.
They're spending $1 billion on Infinity War 1 and 2. $1 billion. Granted, they're going to get 2 movies out of it, but holy fuck, that's a lot of money.
You want another indicator of where we're at? Wasn't it the 8th Fast and Furious movie was the biggest opening movie ever? Ever. In the world and domestically. There's where we're at, everybody. That's the biggest opening of a movie ever.
Yeah, but there's a reason for that. Studios don't want to take risk with new IPs or smaller budget movies to be hits. I mean, if it happens, it's nice. But the days of Miramax buying up every small movie at every film festival they could find, hoping to turn it into the new Clerks, those are pretty much gone. They'd rather just fucking make a movie for $5 million, release it to DVD, and if it's someone from if it's a Kevin Smith movie, he's got a hard enough fan base that they're going to buy it up. These big blockbusters, these studio tent poles, I didn't even realize until I sat down and watched a documentary about there's only 47 American movies allowed in China per year, legally, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Half of them have to be in 3D. I mean, there's a bunch of different rules that China has. And they were talking about how they turned the Last Born movie into a 3D movie so it could get released over in China, and people were getting sick in the audience because of all the shaky cam shit and it being in 3D.
Right, they do a lot of handheld cam shit. How do you do that?
It's like watching the Blair Witch in 3D. I'd probably puke halfway through it too. But I mean, if maybe I'm connecting dots that I shouldn't connect. But I can't believe that these corporations, who are worldwide corporations who are making money in all corners of the world, are just going to sit back and let stupid fucking hot-headed politicians fuck up their income stream. I mean, I don't know what they could do as far as, what power these kind of companies. I mean, who knows what Disney is really capable of? I don't. I mean, I'm sure if they threw their backing behind somebody for a political office, they would sway a lot of people for whatever reason. But, I mean, it's just getting ugly out there, man. We got a president who wants to fucking fight everybody who pisses him off or looks at him the wrong way, and he's supposed to be the business president. That's supposed to help American business. Now he's over here and he's looking like he's wanting to be, W part 2. And it's like, dude, are you getting drunk off of this? Are you getting high off of this power trip? Is that what's going on here? You think this is a game of Risk or a Battleship where you could just move these things around and it's a game? It's not.
He's the ultimate boss now. You tell everybody what to do. It's in the Constitution. So he thinks. It was really, it was insane there for a minute. About late January, when he first got into office, February, you thought he got elected king. The Congress and the courts, or more the courts, fuck Congress, because they didn't do shit. The courts had to remind him real quick, hey, buddy, no, it's not how we're laid out here.
Well, he's coming up on his 100 days, which is this...
Feels like 100 years.
This marker that we've all decided that, a president should accomplish something within 100 days.
So I think it's dumb. Really? Judge anyone on the first 100 days of their job. You tell me, get the fuck... I've always thought that was dumb.
It's dumb because the most important shit that you want to get done in this country is going to take more than 100 days to get right.
And so instead,
we're getting fucking half-assed. We're going to get half-assed healthcare reform. Another one. I heard this next week. We're going to have it just to try and get it in within the 100 days so that he can make it look like his presidency is successful. I mean, maybe if we had more, I'm not saying that we need to extend some more rope for Trump because I'm ready for him to hang himself now. But maybe we wouldn't be in this situation in the first place with all the shitty laws that are written just to try and prove something to all these people, all the voters who have it in their heads that if the president doesn't get at least 30% of his mandate done in the first 100 days, not even the first year, the first year out of 4 years that you've elected him, they expect 100 days to be able to stick a toothpick in and see how it's going. What do you mean it's not ready yet?
Yeah, I just think it's. I don't know why we use that watermark. I don't know what dipshit came up with that marker.
I think it started with Reagan.
You're still figuring out what the fuck you're doing in the first 100 days. What great accomplishment has any president done in their first 100 days? I can't think of any. I can't think of any lasting change for good that a president has left in this country that they accomplished within the first 100 days of office. You do not do the best work at your job within the first 100 days of having it. Just saying. Anybody.
Right. That's why most jobs have a 90-day evaluation period. They take 3 months to evaluate whether to keep you or not.
Yeah, at this point, Trump's just getting his benefits.
Oh, man, if we had that.
At this point, he's just getting... At this point, now, all right, here's your medical card, and you get PTO now.
Well, does it worry either of you guys that, like I said, when he was elected and he ran, he was running as the, America first, make America great, all that bullshit, economy. And here we are. Dude, is there even any talk about fucking the economy? Hardly at all with all the bullshit he's pulling.
Oh, well, he was... Here's how he tackled the economy this week. He went after Canada because Canada had, I swear I heard the story on the radio, but I couldn't tell you what the fuck it was really about. But it was about dairy products, mostly milk. There's some process of making milk products for cheese that Canada has approved and lowered the expense on in some way, or basically Trump is accusing Canada of price fixing and being protectionist for their own country's products. But yet that's all that he talks about is buy American. There's nothing wrong with that. Not saying that people should buy stuff from other countries because it's better or something. But this blanket statement, we're getting screwed on trade. Everyone needs to buy American. We need to get these workers back. And then to look at other countries and criticize them for doing the same thing. And honestly, when you talk about food in general in this country, I mean, we're already pretty protectionist, even when just keeping our farmers afloat. But that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, he hasn't really done anything. He talks about how horrible NAFTA is, and he's got to go. He wants to renegotiate NAFTA, and that's where he starts, is to go after Canada and their export of cheese products.
He signed something this week that was like the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen. It was something like the Make America. It was something about make manufacturing here or buy American. It was it should just be called the propaganda order, because that's what it was. It was another executive order, and he got out his fucking gold pen or whatever he fucking gets out. And it was something that was just... I just was like, how much money was wasted on all of this? And this whole little grand gesture, like, what does this thing actually say? Like, what it...
Right.
It was. I've been trying to find it while we're talking. It's like it has in the title that it's nothing but a platitude. Like
that's all there is there. There's nothing that, I mean, who buys American? When and how much and why? And of what are we buying in America?
You can't even figure out half the time even if it's an American company and it says assembled in America, where all the parts come from.
Right. Yeah, Shinola watches. Everyone wants to talk about made in Detroit, and they're a proud Detroit company. They are. They started in Detroit. They operate in Detroit. They have stores in Detroit. Their shit is made in China and assembled here in Detroit.
Trump signed hold on. Sorry. Go ahead. I found it.
I'm not knocking their product or saying that it's shitty because it's made in China and assembled in Detroit. They're cool watches. If you're into, I'm not a watch wearer, but if you're into watches, check out the Shinola ones. And from what I hear, they're nice watches too. But that's just the reality of the economy. If you made that watch completely in the U.S., nobody would fucking buy it because it would be too expensive. And plus,
and made shitty.
Who buys their watch made in the U.S. anyway?
Are supposed to buy from
Switzerland? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so what was the name of it? Make America Cowboy Awesome again?
Yeah, right. Yeah, America number one. No, it's actually the comments he made about the dairy farmers came from when he signed this executive order. It's aimed at encouraging federal agencies, to buy American, hire American, and then
hire American.
And then he said Trump called out Canada, claiming trade deals impede Wisconsin's dairy farmers. So yes, well, he's signing that order. Then when he talks shit about the dairy. We're going to stand up for our dairy farmers in Wisconsin. That demands really immediately fair trade with all our trading partners, and that includes Canada. Because in Canada, some very unfair things have happened to our dairy farmers, and we're going to start working on that.
There are 37 million people in Canada with all that open land. And I'm sorry, I've never heard of a demand for Canadian cheese or milk. Like to where it's advertised, where it's like, come to, like it's not like some French cheese or some shit or some, homemade mozzarella or some shit. This is really, that's our biggest problem right now as far as trade?
No.
I mean,
definitely not.
But check this out. Trump's order calls for a crackdown on H-1B visas and stronger enforcement of laws that determine the entry of foreign workers into the United States. The directive calls on the Departments of Justice, Labor, and Homeland Security and state to crack down on any abuse in the system in an effort to protect workers. These visas are generally granted to foreign workers with a bachelor's degree or higher who work in specialty occupations. Science, engineering, and information technology are listed as the U.S. citizenship and immigration.
But right, but if unless I misunderstand this, it doesn't change the law when it comes to H-1B visas. It just says, I want you guys to crack down on this.
But what does it mean, crack down on these visas?
All right. Apply the current law.
Stop issuing them?
Stop being so lax, is the accusation. I don't know if they're being lax or not, but we need to look at this more. That's the Trump thing. We need to look at this, I'm hearing.
The AFL-CIO president loved it, so the union's on board.
Yeah, I know quite a few.
Because they subcontract all their shit.
I'm going to say I know a handful of people who've lost their jobs to workers on those visas. And the bitch of it is that a lot of times whole departments were fired. A few people were retained to train the people coming in on those visas. And then when those people were trained up to the company's satisfaction, they let the old people go. So, I mean, that's one of the issues I've heard about those visas. Another one was some talking head. They didn't really let him go into it. He was trying to draw a conclusion between workers here in this country on that visa and sending money back home to supply terrorist organizations. So I think that one was a shot in the dark. But I know the other one. I know people that's actually happened to. And yeah, it usually is information technology, engineering, something along those lines. And this isn't Mexican people coming over. This is like my buddy who works at Detroit Diesel. It was a bunch of Germans that come over that took over part of their engineering facility.
Yeah.
I mean, so people can get pissy about Mexicans and shit. This isn't Mexicans. These are just people from developed countries who have education coming over here.
I don't want to throw shade at anybody that you know. I'm not talking shit directly about these people that you're referencing that lost their jobs, but in general, I think there's a lot of entitlement and just U.S. workers getting soft and thinking that their jobs are always going to be safe and there for them, that causes them to lose jobs to foreigners who come in hungry and ready to work and don't have this entitlement. They understand that it's something that you constantly have to work for, and especially when you're talking about stuff like engineering. It's a constant learning process. You don't get your degree, you're an engineer, and then you never pick up a book in your life. Now I know how to engineer everything for the rest of my 50 years working. There's constant changes, and it's like being a doctor. You are never stopping the learning process. You have to keep up with the latest technology, the current terms that are being used, whatever it may be. So, I mean,
well, real quick, I just want to address what you had said.
Yeah.
The problem is, the perception is that a lot of these American workers are getting lazy. They don't want to do the work, so companies are bringing in people who will do the work. That's the perception.
Okay.
The reality is they're bringing in people who will do the same amount of work for less money, less benefits.
I can't argue with you on that. I'm sure that's a major factor.
I mean, that's more of the reality of the situation than a bunch of people standing around going, "I don't want to fucking work." I've worked in environments where I'm in a factory. If half the factory stops working, that factory shuts down very quick. I mean, so they keep that shit running, however. But just like they bought out people from Ford's and Ford and Chrysler and GM years, what was it, 8, 9, 10 years ago now, and hired a bunch of new people. They hired those people at rates that I think is good money. I think it's good money to start at $15 an hour at GM or Ford or Chrysler.
If they're going to train you, fuck yeah.
Yeah, and they're going to give you benefits after 90 days in your union. Yeah, I think that's it's a good starting pay. The old timers were going, that's what I started at in 1976, though.
Yeah, well.
And it's like, yeah. But you have to understand.
1976 anymore.
Exactly. You guys thought
all those plants are gone.
You guys thought paying $1.25 for a gallon of gas was outrageous, and anything over 75 cents for a pack of cigarettes was highway robbery.
When what? Probably, I don't know, I'll just pull a number out of my ass. Let's say 85% of the cars on the road were built in America.
Back then?
Was it? Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And they all got shit gas mileage.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, that's why you have all those American auto workers that were able to make good money, and everyone was employed because everyone was driving American, because at the time we made better cars, and then we got soft. We said we didn't have to make better cars with better mileage, because what are people going to do? Not buy American cars?
See,
the Japanese showed up and went, "Hey, look, 30 miles to the gallon."
Right.
You say soft.
Carter and Gung Ho and
you say soft. I wonder if it's because the focus went from.
When I say soft, I mean with a W. Soft.
But I wonder if it's because the focus went more from the top down. Hey, we have to build the best product possible and put it out there to stay ahead of the competition. To, well, we've already pretty much got our market share and staked it out. Now, how do we maximize profits, and what corners can we cut?
Right.
I mean, that's really the problem. That's why I have such an issue with people who are just like, I trust my corporate masters more than I trust the government. They're both equally untrustworthy, and they're both motivated by greed. People at the top of corporations, if they think they can, get an extra couple $100,000 in their bonus, yeah, they're going to cut 4,000 jobs here and 5,000 jobs there. They're not even going to think twice about that. But what is that doing to actually further the company to better the product they're producing? I think the 70s, late 70s, and definitely the 80s with the auto industry here in Detroit pretty much taught us we go to shit. I mean, when gas is high, all of a sudden people want cars to get better gas mileage. When the price goes back down, everybody wants to drive these SUVs and these big ass, I'm sorry, you have a small penis trucks. It's like, did you learn anything from the last time the gas was up to $3.50 a gallon? It's not going to always be $1.25 to $2.50, whatever you think it's going to be. Those days are gone. We artificially kept our gas prices where they were for a long time.
Right.
But people don't realize that.
I think I had mentioned this before, but I got cable and internet at my new place. Went through Comcast because that was practically my only option, especially if I wanted super reliable internet. Their service is the actual, not customer service, but their actual service. The internet itself, the cable, anything that I want from it, been rock solid. I also get Wi-Fi just about anywhere I go, and that's pretty kick-ass too. I have no complaints about that. Customer service, but that's a lot up from me 10 years ago saying, I will never fucking do business with you again before I hung up the phone.
They had to change their name. They were so synonymous with shitty customer service.
Right.
Hey, we're Xfinity now. I know you're still fucking Comcast. You can't
They changed the name, but not a whole lot changed during the name change. I think since then, they've gotten continually better as a company, and it's because of Hulu, Netflix, PS TV Now, Slingbox, whatever the fuck else.
They don't have that electric company attitude anymore.
What other
TV you gonna watch? You gonna go buy rabbit ears?
They can't
have that attitude anymore.
An actual highly competitive market to operate in. Now, if in that situation, a company like Comcast persists and continues to have shitty service and shitty customer service, they should go under. If a car company refuses to understand what its customers need and anticipate that and think ahead of the market like anybody in any business has to do, they deserve to go under. And it's the same thing when you...
the government bails them out.
Now that we're in a global economy, you have to apply that same thing. If you're going to be outproduced, outmaneuvered by a foreign company, a foreign worker, whatever the fuck it is, that's the reality of the situation. And by protecting people from those things happening, that's how you continue to have poor products, poorly run businesses, and pissed off customers that will go to the global economy, that can get anything they want shipped from Amazon right to their doorstep anyway.
Out here, I get Amazon Eats. They bring you food to eat.
I don't know if I'm breaking up on your end, but you guys are breaking up coming into me. I think I got to call back real quick.
Well, hey, I got to go because I still have to go back and work another hour and a half, maybe an hour.
Okay.
So you guys can, I can peace out. You guys can wrap it up and put a bow on it.
It's 12:30. I got to put my kids to sleep, so why don't you sign us out?
Yeah, I have to work tomorrow morning as well. So,
all right, cool. Well, hey, thanks everybody who has been downloading, who has been sharing, who has been retweeting, following us on Twitter at UnregimentedPod. I see the numbers, man. Like, we're on pace. Like, it's not hyperbole, people. Every month is better than the last. So, yeah, thank you. You can email us unregimented@christophermedia.net. We are on Instagram at unregimented, just unregimented on Instagram. Yes. ChristopherMedia.net is just where you need to go. That's all you need to do. And make sure you write a review, rate us, all that fun stuff. Just spitballing here because I've been working and I have to go back to work. So with that being said, we'll see you next week.
All right, later, guys.
See ya.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
The sweet aromas of the apple fritter, cinnamon roll, and blueberry muffin are hard to resist. So making it home without reaching in your McDonald's bag is no easy task. But nothing worth doing is easy. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.